Imagine keeping agency customers 2, 3, 4, 5 times longer than you're currently keeping them. What would that do to your agency's total revenue? In this video, I outline the process of how we onboard our customers and keep them, and more specifically, what to do in the first 30 days to maximize your customer retention. This is a big problem amongst agencies. And in this video, I outline the winning steps that you need to implement today to start keeping customers twice as long. By the way, if you're new to the channel, like, notify, subscribe, all that cool stuff so you can see more fire agency content just like this. Enjoy the video. So keeping clients is interesting. There's a couple things that you want to know about just the client experience overall. First of all, within the first 48 hours of working with you, that means from the time they give you payment, they're making up their decision about whether or not they're going to work with you long-term. So that first 48 hours is really important to wow them. I wouldn't say over communicate, but just to be very clear on what they purchased and what's coming next, okay? So I'll isolate the different parts of the process because it's not just the onboarding call, it's the onboarding process, right? And it all starts with a good sales call, okay? That sales call needs to be clear. They need to know what they're buying. And as soon as they go through your checkout process, or maybe you take payment on the phone, they need to know what's happening next because it's a very vulnerable point in time. They just gave you money, they just paid you. Now what, okay? So think about what you're going to do just to confirm and reaffirm their purchase. That's step one, okay? Step two is the actual onboarding. Now, when you're working with a high level plus UpHex model, you're going to onboard with the intent of getting them one objective. The cool thing about high level is all the cool stuff it can do. The bad thing about high level is all the cool stuff it can do, okay? It is a double-edged sword. So your onboarding needs to start out with something like, the goal of this onboarding call is to get you set up, and then by the end, have you turn on your own campaign by yourself. And you're gonna do that in just 3 clicks. Are you ready? Cool. So, and maybe your model is, maybe you're upselling UpHex or something along those lines. But the point is, when you do that onboarding call, it's one goal. But just make sure that if you're outsourcing the technical setup, that somewhere in your process, they are getting the thing that you sold them, which is, if it's the UpHex model, they gotta launch their ads. They gotta do that. That is the first step of adoption, okay? Now, on YouTube, there's a video and it talks about my slow onboarding process. We have had a video that plays, it's about 10 minutes long, and I play that during the first 10 minutes of the onboarding call. And I do that so there's a standard onboarding process and there's a standard onboarding frame, message, expectation set. And so I, go watch that. And if you feel like that would help in making your own, copy that. That's why I put it on YouTube, so you guys could model what we're doing there and get people feeling what you want them to feel when they onboard. So that's the onboarding process. One thing, make them feel good, just have a good experience when they're onboarding. Then for the next 2 weeks, you want to have these micro wins that they can have. And you want to proactively reach out and say, awesome, you got your first lead, amazing, right? Just tell them that they did it and remind them what's happening next. And so there's so many different things are model specific. In our model, it's like, hey, you're getting, now our AI is going to start booking those appointments for you. So start looking for your calendar to start fill up with these appointments. All right, awesome. And then when they get their first booked appointment, awesome, you got your first booked appointment. Isn't that exciting? Now, okay, so just backfill your strategy into my process that I've just laid out, because you want to make sure that they feel like they're winning. I'll tell you a secret. Nobody that they've worked with before has ever done that. That is the secret. Nobody has ever done that with them. So immediately within the first 48 hours, you're telling them that they made the right decision. And then over the next couple of weeks, you're confirming and reaffirming that in fact is the case. And that's the red zone. The red zone is your first 30 days. If you can give them the outcomes that they want, now that doesn't mean they're going to make a bunch of sales. We start focusing on sales and stuff, days 31 through 90. But if they can get that outcome and you can proactively support and reaffirm what they've done, that's a really good first step to keeping them on board for a very long time. There's a hierarchy of communication you have to understand. Okay. So number one, the way we do it is they buy through the cart and immediately our onboarding schedule pops up. If they don't schedule, you don't send them an email. You don't text them. You pick up the phone. You got to call them if you want to keep them. And here's the other thing. If you're providing support to somebody reactively, so they've complained about something, my lead quality is crap, whatever, you don't email them. That's the worst thing you could do. You're going to lose them like that. But if you're proactive, and here's how you keep people. If you're proactive and you're like, hey, I noticed that your lead cost is increasing. You have a system within your agency to identify that. So what do? Maybe you swap out some creative, maybe you hit reset, whatever mechanism to improve their lead cost. You say, hey, I noticed that your lead cost was increasing. So we made an optimization, give it 3 to 4 days, and we'll see if that brings your cost back down. Have a lovely day. Guess what? They've never had before either. They've never had that before either. So proactive support will keep people like way longer. That's one of the reasons why we have the account issues tab. The account issues tab is directly correlated to churn, is to retaining customers longer. And over the first quarter of next year, there's going to be a lot more things involved in there. Like there's going to be AI to like optimize stuff, and there's going to be a lot of really cool stuff. And again, UpHex is about keeping things simple. So we will make it simple. But the whole idea is I can look at one place and be like, oh, this person is not spending their ad budget. That to me is the one that has made me look the stupidest. Is that a word? The most stupid in the past is I'm going, but I have no automations firing off telling me there's a problem with XYZ account, because guess what it's not doing? It's not spending the budget. You don't spend the budget, you don't get metrics back, or the metrics just stay the same. And that happens more often than you think. It's a really frustrating thing. That's why in the account issues tab, we measure on a 24-hour window. If it hasn't spent 80% of the daily budget, we notify you. That's the only place you'll find a mechanism like that. And because I don't run anymore. I got to stop thinking that way. A lead gen agency. I had that stuff pop up in my face all the time. And I would always be like, dude, how do we fix this? How can we, if we have so many accounts, it is either I can get really bloated on the back end and just have somebody in every single account all the time. That's not tenable. I mean, you're going to just blow out your money. It gets very, very frustrating. So that's why the account issues tab is there to help you be proactive in your support.